And we continue with our series for Women's Month. Today we are speaking with Andrea Ragoo, also known as your virtual CFO, that is, Chief Financial Officer. And yes, we will be discussing finance as an issue that many of us women refuse to discuss. Andrea and I will be discussing why it is necessary for Caribbean women in business to achieve financial freedom. Her years of experience has shown her that women today struggle with money matters, and she'd love to share her thoughts, opinions, and strategies to help others manage their money instead of having their money manage them. Her goal is to ensure every single female business owner conquers the financial aspects of their business so they can truly be profitable. So Andrea, thank you very much for agreeing to do an interview with Business Inspire out of Guyana.
Thank you. You're most welcome. I'm so happy to be here and I'm so happy to be part of this.
Now, we are talking today about financial success for Caribbean women. And I know that this is sort of like a taboo issue where women don't necessarily like to talk about financing. But, today we are going to be going through this with you in relation to, why it is important for women to talk success, why it is important, for women to actually take the lead when it comes to their financial business. So before we get into that, could you, tell us, share with the viewers and listeners a little bit about who Andrea Ragoo is?
All right. So, first of all, Andrea Ragoo is my name and I am from Trinidad and Tobago. I am an accountant by profession, so that's the field that I'm in. That has been my career for the past 18 years. And most recently, I decided to delve into my own business and I created a consultancy, ATR Business Solutions, to help business owners, micro business owners and small business owners get access to help with managing their finances, right? So I cater to those small business owners. I love helping female entrepreneurs, especially because, we need to, the reason why you get into business is to achieve financial freedom, right? And you can't really do that unless the finances are in order. So I aim to help persons do that and so that they could see success in their business.
Now, I know you talk about the love for helping small business owners, particularly women, but what is the, when you decided to start your own business, tell us, what was the decision that made you, take this step?
So, really and truly, I think what was my turning point, I built my career in corporate sector, working for different companies, going through companies large and small, private and public. But at some point in my career, I was working with a particular employer, and due to economy and due to things that were happening in the business, we had to take salary cuts, and it was a drastic salary cut. And while I understood, because again, being a financial person, I understand sometimes why these steps have to be taken. It didn't take away from the fact that I was financially affected. And the thought of something external that I had no control over had the ability to impact the money that I take home at the end of the day, that was shocking to me. And it left me with a feeling of helplessness, that no matter what I do, no matter how hard I work, I'm taking home less than what I should be taking home through no fault of my own, right? And I believed I never liked that feeling. And I think it was at that moment that the seed was planted to do something to contribute to my earning capacity, that I needed to take action to be able to contribute to my income, to contribute to my ability to bring home money at the end of the day, apart from just, working for a salary. So it was at that point that the thought of trying to work for myself, was born, and eventually it became what it is now, which is a full-fledged business where I'm working 100% for myself, etc. But, it was that drive to be able to have a level of control over my ability to earn.
Now, talking about control and your ability to earn, why do you think it is important for women, and I know we're talking about Caribbean women here, for them to actually attain financial freedom?
It's important for us to attain that freedom because, first of all, society actually has done a lot for us to not have it, right? Just generally speaking, um, you know, our society is one of, we're still trying to get out of the stigma of women should be at home, right? We're still trying to get out of that. We've just celebrated, Women's Day. 2023 is about embracing equity and trying to, still trying to play that game of getting us up there where we should be. So it's important that we contribute to that because financial freedom is part of that equity, right? And the thing about it is, ironically, we're trying to get the equity, and there's still a lot being done to help us not get there. But at the same time, if you think about it, women are the ones that are making the financial decisions at home, right? The society over the years, you put women at home, but then they are the ones making the financial decision. The man goes out and he brings home his salary, and what does he do? He hands it to the lady of the house, and she does all the managing of the bills. So it's a skill that comes so naturally to us that we need to use that skill to gain that financial freedom. So it's already there innate with us. So it's important for us to take that now and use it to further, give ourselves that freedom to live the life that we would want and to get a seat at the table, right? A seat at the proverbial table of equity and being able to earn just as much as everybody else earns, but it's there already. Our skill is there already. We just need to take it on a bigger scale.
Now, a follow-up question to that is, given all that women are doing, the struggles that they have gone through to get to where we are today, and we still have issues talking about money. Why do you think is that?
I think money is still this uncomfortable topic because I think we have a very traumatic relationship with money. Money is a sign of power, and it goes all the way back to how we came here, right? Of those colonial days, being brought across here, probably against our will and through these various programs, slavery, as we say. But I think that traumatic experience that we had with the people that did that were the people that had money, right? And that was the status symbol. So I feel like there's such a traumatic relationship that we have with money that we feel very uncomfortable talking about money and trying to get our own money and make it, right? Because the relationship that we've had with it, what we saw money do, we saw money, people who had money was the ones that took advantage of our situation and was able to yield all the power over us. So we still haven't gotten over those things, and it just brings the best way I think I could describe it, that I feel as though it's just this traumatic relationship that people and that's what makes it kind of taboo, and you don't want to talk about it, right? You don't want to think about the possibility of you having that power, and you don't want the other person to know that you have it, so you're secretive about it. So we don't talk about it because you don't want other people to look at you a different way. Well, whether you have it or you don't have it, or if you're starting to have it, you don't want to share that information. It's just a very complicated and traumatic relationship that we have with money that makes it very uncomfortable for us to talk about money, whether we're talking about it in a good sense or a bad sense, right? Whether it is to say, hey, I am doing well, or I don't have. I just feel as though because of, that very bad history, we're uncomfortable talking about it either way.
And I understand exactly what it is you're saying. Now, if we are going to change that, how do we make that shift? What are some of the things that we as Caribbean women need to change?
We need to start seeing money the way the more successful people who have used money, the way they see it. They see it as a tool, They see it as something that has to work just as hard as they are working. Right now, we see money as the tool that just helps us to make ends meet. We see it as something where, okay, I make enough to survive. I have this particular thing, I need X amount for groceries, and we have our monthly expenses. And once we're able to meet it, I think we take a little sigh and we go, oh, okay, all right, I make it. And then we wait for the next salary. But what we're not seeing is that the money needs to turn around and not just meet expenses, but it needs to help generate wealth. So you need to be able to take that money and I know I using the word investing, but it doesn't even have to be as complex as buying shares in a company. It could be as simple as saying, I'm going to take this money and I am going to invest in me. I'm going to go and learn a course. And when I do that course, the skill that I learn, I'm going to turn around and sell my product or service. That is money working for you. Because in the end, you're getting something back from that initial outlay. We need to start looking at money as the tool that allows us to do those things. And when you start changing your mindset and start seeing money that way as something that has to work just as hard as you do, you will start to see the opportunities. You will start to see that it's no longer spending. We're not spending money anymore. We're making it work, right? Taking money and just paying the light bill, paying rent, that's just spending it. But what is the end game, right? Are you taking money and putting it aside to save for the down payment for the house, right? Are you taking this money and, as I say, investing in yourself, bettering yourself, that maybe you get a better job? What is the money doing for you? I mean, that is the mindset shift that we have to achieve. Understanding that money has to work for you as well, not just pay the bills.
Now, on the heels of that, I know that lots of persons are, struggling. They are living paycheck to paycheck, and trying to get money to work for them, might be very, very difficult. How do you move from living paycheck to paycheck to actually getting your money to work for you so that you can build generational wealth, improve yourself, and so on?
So I like to talk about this from a three-pronged approach, right? If you want to move from living paycheck to paycheck, here are three things that you can do. You need to multiply, you need to diversify, and then you need to conserve. So what does that mean? Multiply the sources of income first. So you're multiplying the sources of income, meaning you need to make more, right? Then you want to diversify. You want to look at where is it coming from, right? So multiply could mean making more, just doing more of what you're already doing, or doing it somewhere else. So it could be you work 8 to 4, but you do ride shares and deliveries with your vehicle after hours. That's multiplying, right? That's, you're getting a different source. Diversify now. Diversify is, okay, where are you getting the money from? So make sure that the sources of income are not too closely related, because as we saw with COVID, right, whole industries came down, right? So if all your income was tied up in one place, then you lost. But if you had something here and something there and something in another place, it helps to spread your risk. So you want to look at diversifying. So as I use the example, you have an 8 to 4 job, but then you're also doing ride shares, or you're baking at home, totally unrelated, right? You have a skill. You could be an office worker, but you could make cakes really well. So your side business has nothing to do with the first line of with your original skill, and you have two separate lines. And then the third thing is conserve. So if multiplying and diversifying is done well, it should be able to generate some surpluses. And when you get those surplus income now, try to conserve it, try to save a bit and put it aside now. And that is what helps you get out of the hamster wheel of just paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. Because the hamster wheel cycle of one paycheck to the next is that we think that we need a higher paying job. And we go and we get the higher paying job, so we get the higher paycheck. But with that job, we also automatically, the expenses go up. We see more income coming in, and then we see expenses going up. So we never really truly develop a surplus, right? All we've done is just, increase our living, right? So, but if you take this approach, that could help generate enough surplus to help get you out of that 100% reliance of that one check. Because what paycheck to paycheck means is that I only have one source of income. And if that paycheck don't happen, or if that paycheck happens late, I'm dead in the water, right? But if you have multiple sources, if you have that, diversified, and if you have savings, that is what helps you to help get off that wheel of paycheck to paycheck.
How important is it for women to do monthly budgeting? And my other question is, how do I know that we want to have higher paying jobs, but then we don't necessarily know how to differentiate between our needs and our wants.
Well, isn't that the catch-22, right? So the first step in any sort of plan or any sort of budgeting discussion, we have to identify these needs versus wants, right? I think the problem is we don't know how to, we're not sure. It's not that we don't want to do the analysis, When we do the analysis, we categorizing them the wrong way. So some wants are actually categorized as needs, making it seem as though, well, I have to get this. When in truth and in fact, maybe you don't, or you could find an alternative, right? So I think that's so the needs versus wants conversation is very critical. And and the thing about it is, anytime you're talking about finances, that will come up. It's a simple point, and it's a point that probably people will hear more than once, but it is a critical baseline. It is a critical point to start, that you have to be able to truly assess, is this a need or is this a want? Right? Now, the thing about needs versus wants, though, is that what I consider a need might be a want for you because of your situation. So this is where the conversation gets tricky, right? Because we might listen to somebody and they might say, well, that's not a need. Somebody might tell you that's not a need, but for them it is, right? So you have to be able to take an honest assessment of your situation and say, this is what I need versus this is what I want. And only when that is done, then any sort of budgeting can happen. Because with the budgeting, because the reason why you're doing the needs versus wants assessment is because you want to be able to see what is the bare minimum that you need, right? When you do that assessment now and you do budgeting, the budgeting process now will tell you, you have to be able to go up a period of time without the wants in order for you to change your habits or to develop a surplus. Right? You have to be able to say, well, these are the ones I'm going to do without it for the next 6 months. For the next 6 months, I'm only operating on needs, and the money that I would have spent on wants is what I'm going to redirect. Either you're redirecting it to savings or you're redirecting it to pay for school. I keep using school as an example because education is power, right? Redirecting it to something else that will, in the end, work for you.
I'm glad that you said that, because we are now, social media has, become this open where people are having all sorts of conversations, and sometimes we look at a person's story and say that, well, this is also my story, and then we sort of try to imitate what they're doing, and then we realize that there is no change in our situation.
Absolutely. Social media is a double-edged sword. It's very useful for educating people and for getting a message out there, but then it's dangerous because you think that message is like, you think it's exactly for you, and then you try to emulate it and you recognize it's not working for you, particularly when you're looking at a social media message from somebody who is not within your territory, right? And that's a problem that we have, especially like in my space where we want to talk about finance and stuff. Our Caribbean diaspora, we have different situations compared to the American counterparts, the European counterparts. So when they talk about finance and they try to give you, oh, look at this tool for, I'm just saying, for example, you might see somebody giving away a worksheet or giving away advice on what to deal with this particular financial situation. And it can't be applied here because first of all, we don't have the systems that they're speaking about, and then we don't have the circumstances. Our economy is totally different, right? So you have to be very careful with where you look for the advice, and I guess that's why it's important that more our own people speak to our own people. That's one of the reasons why I do what I do as well, because I realize not enough of us are speaking to our own people to help them in this situation. We are from the Caribbean, so we should be able to help other Caribbean people with something like this, with your finances, right? We have to start that conversation.
Now, what are some of the practical tips you can give to women to actually see a change in their businesses?
So the practical tip would be some practical tips that you can use to start seeing the positive change. The first thing is the needs versus wants, which is what we spoke about before. You really have to do that honest assessment first, so that you could see where your situation is, and then you will know, okay, this is what my wants are, this is what my needs are, and then you decide you have this goal in mind. So the first thing is needs versus wants assessment, and then with the understanding that once you do that, you're signaling to say, well, once I'm going to have to do without this for a while, right? Once you've done that, you want to be able now to set a goal for yourself, right? After you do this needs assessment, what is the goal that you are trying to achieve? What does this financial future look like? Now, again, we just said it could be different for everybody. Your financial future could mean you are trying to send your child to school. You are trying to send your child to university. That's your financial future. Another person's financial future could mean, I just want to travel the world, right? I want to be able to travel every year and be able to go somewhere else, a different country. So because those futures are different, the steps that they have to take will look different, right? So identify what does that future look like for you and set the targets that you need to set, right? And then one of the other things, the third thing that you can do is look at your debt. A lot of people, when we talk about finances, I feel as though we don't talk enough about debt, right? Particularly your credit card debt. It's a very sneaky thing. And if you don't pay attention to your credit card, it could get out of hand. And you want to be able to look at that credit card and look how you've been spending on your credit card. If you cannot afford to pay off your credit card every cycle in full and be comfortable, then that credit card is too high for you. So a simple thing could be make your credit card the limit as much as what you could afford to pay. So if your salary is $20,000 a month, let's just say, and your spending is anywhere in the vicinity of 10 to 15,000, then you want to try to keep your credit card in that limit, right? So that at the end of the month, you're able to clear it off. Because remember, anything you don't clear it gets, you're tacking on interest, and then the next month you add on to it, and it's just a cycle. So look at debt, right? Look at and particularly the credit card. I mean, we have other types of debt, but I always like to focus on the credit card because of how easy it is to rack it up, right? From the time you have that card in your hand, every month you're increasing your debt, right? When you take a loan a fixed amount and you're paying it back. But credit card, every month we swipe in. So I think if you want to start seeing some immediate changes, those are the three things. Assess your needs and versus your wants. Identify what your financial future is so that you could set the goal that you're looking for. And then thirdly, take a look at debt to see how that is impacting your spending and reduce it accordingly.
Now, sometimes you have persons who may believe that they are too far gone. It is too late for them to actually, start putting systems in place to manage their financing and so on. What would you say to them?
What I would say is that it's not that it's too late. It's just that your journey will look different to somebody who has more time. So if you're in your 40s trying to fix things and trying to put certain things in place before you retire, you have less time, so you have different actions to take than the person who just started to work, right? Because you're in your 40s, so a whole 20 years of your working life has gone already. So it might be a more aggressive approach for you. You just have to make up your mind that your approach will have to be a little more aggressive and conservative at the same time, because you actually don't have much time to play with in terms of risk. Versus the person who in their 20s, they could recover, they could take the chances, and they could, take risks because they have the time to recover, right? You may not have that. So it's not that it's too late. It's just that you need to be aware and make up your mind that your journey will look different, and it may just be a little more aggressive than the person who is 10 years younger than you, right? But it would never be too late. Start wherever you are, whatever little that you could start with. If you're starting with $100, if you're starting with $200, start where you can.
This seems to be like a whole discussion on, when is the right time to prepare for retirement.
That could be a whole other conversation. But basically, preparing for retirement, you start preparing for retirement the day you start to work.
That is so true.
That is the best.
How is it, Andrea, for persons who are viewing, how can they contact you?
Okay, so you can contact me via my email, contact@yourvirtualcfonow.com. You can send me an email. I am on social media as well. My Instagram handle is yourvirtualcfo868, as well as on my website, yourvirtualcfonow.com. Those are all the ways that I can be found. And which other handle am I missing? I'm on LinkedIn as well under my name, Andrea Ragoo.